Thank you, Nash, for joining in. Thank you for joining in. Uh, and thank all of you from Ground Zero. Hi, how are you? How are you doing this evening? I'm glad to find you still up. And if you just join in, just share so that we have many people to join us. And thank you again. Thank you, Amina, for joining in. And if you just join in, just share. So we have many people to join us. Uh, and thank you for joining in. Remember that you can always have me on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter live. So either way, you will have me live. And I want to thank you for this second part of Southern Cameroon War of Independence, Part 2. Thank you. Thank you for joining in. Thank you. And again, my name is Funton Daniel. I will be speaking live from here, from this great state of Texas, here in the United States, about the ongoing crisis in Southern Cameroon. And if you just join us, just share. We have many people joining us. And thank all of you. Thank you, Young, for joining in. Uh, Thank you again. That's wonderful for Northern Amberland. If you just join in, just share. And so we have many people joining us. Thank you, Brittany, for joining us. Thank you. Thank you for this era. Thank you too for joining in for this part two of the Southern Cameroon War of Independence, part two. If you just join in, just share. We have many people joining us. And thank you again. My name is Fonton Daniel. I will be speaking here from this great nation's United States and here specifically the state of Texas on the ongoing crisis in the Anglophone speaking territory. And thank all of you. Thank you, Amina, watching from Dallas. Oh, just my neighbor. Thank you again. Thank you from Dallas. Yes, that's wonderful. Felix, thank you for joining in. And if you tune in, just briefly indicate below where you are. And if you are in Ground Zero, yes. If you are in La Republique, yes. If you are in Europe, just briefly indicate where you are. If you are in Asia, wherever you are, just briefly indicate below. And I thank you for all of you for joining in this evening on the second part two, the Federal Republic of Ambazonian or Southern Cameroon War of Independence part two. Thank all of you and for joining in. Thank you, Meta, for joining in. And thank you. If you just join in, just briefly indicate below where you are. And thank all of you for joining. Remember that you can always get me live on Facebook, live on YouTube, and live on my Twitter and YouTube, whatever you. So either or you will be speaking with me, you will be live with me. Thank you, Mr. Musi, for joining in. And thank all of you that are joining in this evening here in this. And I will be live. I will be talking to you guys about the Federal Republic of Ambazonia or this former British trusted territory, the Southern Cameroon, and the quest for self-determination or the War of Independence with the Republic of Cameroon. I just want to thank all of you. And if you just join in, share so we have many people joining us. And thank all of you. Remember that you can always get me live. And if you are on my Twitter or if you are on my Facebook, or if you are my YouTube. Thank you, Celestine, for joining in. You can always subscribe if you're on my YouTube. But I want to acknowledge that many people have put forward a lot of requests on my Facebook account for, but unfortunately, I've maxed the number that is required, this quarters or whatever from the Facebook. I have asked them to allow the maximum number of people that can subscribe, but unfortunately, they don't want to yield to the call. However, I've marked the number of 5,000 requests, but you can always follow me on my Facebook, and you can subscribe to my YouTube. But whatever while we're still fighting for Facebook to limit the quarters requirement, I think it is better you can also follow. That's another way you can always get in touch with me live on my Facebook, and you can always subscribe to my YouTube. And thank you for joining in. And I am speaking here live from this great nation, from the great state of Texas. And it's a wonderful having you. And I will soon start immediately. And I want to thank you. And if you just join in, just share. So we have many people joining in as well. Uh, Thank you, Ate, for joining in. Thank you for joining in. Thank you. And if you just join in, just share. We have many people so that they can come in. And thank all of you for joining in. And I know many of you probably in Europe might probably be sleeping, but we will have some that are still at work. And if you're still in Europe, just indicate below. Thank you, Mr. Matt Jones, for joining in. If you are still in Europe, just indicate that in Europe, ground zero. And thank all of you for joining in. And we will start with the Southern Cameroon or Federal Republic of Ambazonian national anthem. Thank all of you for tuning in and for taking all your special time. Thanks, Mr. Gerard, for joining me live for this crucial moment of this Federal Republic of Ambazonia or Southern Cameroon, former British trusted territory that is still quest for freedom, despite the fact that Southern Cameroon was granted independence in 1961, and yet it has not yet realized its full potential. But because of invaders and the Republic of Cameroon, and that is why I am going to be talking about this evening in this great state of Texas. And so This morning or this afternoon, I talk about the ongoing burning of homes and destruction of property in the southern Cameroon territory by a neighboring country called the Republic of Cameroon. Despite the warning, despite the instructions, despite the fact that we have emphasized the importance of Southern Cameroon must survive from the invaders. But that is why I am here in these great nations and that I am speaking live to every Southern Cameroon and wherever you are. Remember that it is not by mistake that you are in these great nations. As you are in these great nations, you are an ambassador of Southern Cameroon. And wherever you are an ambassador of Southern Cameroon. You have been designated as an ambassador. You can choose not to become an ambassador, but you can choose to be part of the ambassador. But remember that the journey is on its way. There is no single individual that can stop the nuclear movement of the Southern Cameroon to the finishing line. But you either be part of the movement or you stay at your own location. But however, the momentum is on its journey. It's gonna meet the waves that, when the waves start moving, when the waves start moving, when the waves start rumbling, when the waves start manipulating the environment, but the spirit and the will of the people shall not be infringed or break by the wind of movement, because the people has decided and the future lies in the people of Southern Cameroon. We cannot stand and see our people being destroyed by the evil force of a brutal regime. If we are in these great nations, it is by the Spirit of God that has made us to be in these great nations. You, as wherever you are, if you're here in the United States, you are part of this movement. You are part of this movement. But before I proceed, I want to thank the United States. I want to thank the United States government. I want to thank the United States Secretary of State, Mr. Pompeo, who has been confirmed by the Senate, and now the new U.S. Secretary of State. I want to thank the White House. I want to thank the entire cabinet of these great nations of Donald Trump. I want to thank U.S. Congress. I want to thank U.S. Senate. I want to thank U.S. Permanent Representative to the United Nations. They are the symbol of freedom. United States is the symbol of freedom for the rest of the world. Whether you agree with my assessment or you disagree with my assessment, but I acknowledge that the United States stands as a symbol of freedom, of liberty for the rest of the world. But many nations may not have seen it. Many nations don't know the goodness of these great nations, United States. United States has shown the world that they stand for liberty and freedom. Remember when the Japan was destroyed during the Second World War, United States did not minimize what destruction the Japan did to the United States, but instead, United States changed the economic of Japan and reflect the potential of the rest of the world. The United States did not ignore what happened during the Second World War against the Germany. But today, United States stand for the freedom of Germany and the unify of Germany. But the Southern Cameroon crisis, or the former British trusted territory crisis, is different from the Republic, because the Republic of Cameroon is purely a French system, purely economic system, purely democratic form of government, different from the Anglo-Saxon way of education, the Anglo-Saxon way of justice system, the Anglo-Saxon way of rule of law. We believe in the freedom. We believe that law is the supreme of the human shield, and that we value this essential document, and we respect that we are bound by this document. But the Republic of Cameroon is the worst system under the auspices of the French brutal system. And so, because of this crucial and the worst system of government, and that is why you find someone at 36 years in power. An Anglo-Saxon system of government doesn't give 36 years of brutal dictatorship. Remember the great philosophers, Montesquieu, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. They were exiled. They were French philosophers. You remember the bourgeoisie. When they talk of the bourgeoisie, you think of the French regime. When they talk of the bourgeoisie, you think of the French destructive system. And when they exiled themselves to Great Britain, they realized that the government of Great Britain was more liberty, was more freedom. And when they returned back to France, they started to question the bourgeoisie, whether do they have a legitimacy of the people? Do they have a value of the people? And this became a serious questioning about the French system. Despite all this factual information, French has not realized that the philosopher that kicked against the French system is the same that happened now. And they haven't realized this magnitude. And that is why they keep on keeping Africa brutal dictatorship. And we have a certain organization, they call them the OAU. And I'm wondering who are the OAU? The OAU is a body of evil people that lack mental capability to stand against the will and freedom of people. And one would think that a OAU, Organization for Africa Unity. But unfortunately, that is a redundant organization and made up of people from 60 and 80 years of age. Should those people with mentally incapacitated be heading an important organization at this century? No, the young people are the active force, and they are still in their prime, and they are looking forward for the future to build an environment that is comfortable and livable for human dignity, and not people who have finished their century and now they want to manage those of the younger generation. And that is what I am speaking here. Africa OAU has lost its value. Africa OAU has lost its value. It's been 1 year today on the ongoing genocide in the Southern Cameroon territory. And the OAU remains silent. And they are not aware of the ongoing burning of the Southern Cameroon territory. They are not aware of this situation. They haven't even kicked against. They assume because they are the evil dictatorship, and that is what they stand for. And you understand that when dictatorship are in power, they are very friendly with another brutal dictatorship. But with a democratic form of government, they are more in line with the democratic membership and form a reliance to sustain this continued democratic structure. But when the brutal dictatorship in line with the OAU, the organization becomes redundant. That is what I am speaking here in this great state of Texas. And I'm also bringing this attention to the world community. This morning, I spoke about the issues of United Nations, another redundant organization. The United Nations is physically here in the United States. It is physically here in the United States, a redundant organization they call the United Nations. And that is why you can see an evil dictatorship of Paul Biya regime. The worst brutal system is using the shield, the blue beret of the United Nations military, and shown that it is United Nations has legally authorized them to use their symbol as to invade the southern Cameroon, despite the fact that United Nations office here in the United States in 1961 recognized the freedom and independence of southern Cameroon. And a year previously, which is 1960, also recognized the Republic of Cameroon as a sovereign nation. The fact that we are cohabiting with the Republic of Cameroon has not given the Republic of Cameroon a guarantor over the sovereignty of southern Cameroon. And so when a journalist, or they call inner city press, we are familiar with the inner city press, with his journalism and questioning. When he asks a United Nations delegation or United Nations headquarters, it's not elsewhere in New York, here in the United States. Here in the United States. When they ask, are they aware on the ongoing utilization of military equipment, uniforms of the United Nations against the citizens of Southern Cameroon? And the Southern Cameroon is a member of the United Nations, 1961, Article 6B of the United Nations Charter, Article 48, FV of the United Nations recognize Southern Cameroon as an independent entity, and that was voted by the same organizations. And if Paul Biya is using his military hardware or the uniform and the blue beret of the United Nations office, it simply justify that United Nations has in line with the Republic of Cameroon to carry on the ongoing genocide in southern Cameroon. And that is why I am presenting this case to the United States government. I am presenting this case to the United States Congress. I am presenting this case to the White House. I am presenting this case to the U.S. Department of Defense. I am presenting this case to the U.S. Senate. I am presenting this case to the U.S. Congress. I am presenting this case to the U.S. Permanent Representative to the United Nations, Nikki Haley. Are you in accordance that the people of Southern Cameroon, with the authorization of the United Nations to wear their uniform and fight against this another independent nation that your office recognized as a sovereign nation? Right now that I'm speaking in Munyenge, the homes are totally, completely burned down. And I put a live video when the homes are physically burned down by the Republic of Cameroon using the military effigy of the United Nations. And the United Nations has not called an emergency session to discuss the ongoing crisis. United Nations remain ignorant. United Nations remain silent. And that is the problem that I am speaking here. Antonio Guterres is the United Nations scribe. And he is not even aware. So that is why I am saying that people with mental degradations shouldn't be held an important organization such as the United Nations. He was elected by an exclamation meaning that he was not actually elected as normally supposed to. And that is why he paid less attention. And when he traveled to to the Republic of Cameroon, it doesn't occur to him that he also had to travel to the Southern Cameroon as well, to the Federal Republic of Ambazonian territory as well. Instead, he stood at the United Nations and received his gold and with a brown bag of money, which is a form of bribery. And once he was given those, he flew back to the United States here in New York. And that is why the ongoing murdering and slaughtering of the citizens of South Cameroon, it doesn't occur to them to intervene. Because once you have bribed, you are part of that hegemony. Because once you have been bribed, you no longer have no power. You are now bound by the bribery and the corruptor. And that the corruptor is the ownership of you. Your office becomes irrelevant because you have no victory. You have no voice to even mention. Because once you mention that, the breakage and the leakage of the watering of bribery become to spread. It spread like water. And that is why United Nations office is not aware that they are using the military uniform of the United Nations office against the Southern Cameroon. Well, I am asking United States government. United States government, many people of the Southern Cameroon or the Southern Cameroon descent, they understand the rule of law. They have experienced the United States form of government and they have joined the United States form of government. And they value this and they believe that United States is the best system of government. And so United States should take advantages of this. And United States should take advantages and extend the arm of welcome of the people of the Southern Cameroon. And that they believe that as a sovereign nation, as a nation that was recognized and voted by the United States government. And so the people are now in struggling with self-determinations. And we are asking United States government to step a hand of welcome and unilaterally declare because the people of Southern Cameroon are in distress call and asking United States to step in because the people are now in distress call. How United States going to remain silent for the distress of the people? So as I am here in this great nation, as I am here in the United States, as I'm speaking, the people of Southern Cameroon are in distress call. The people are now in homes are burnt, villages are burnt, the entire community are in distress, and we are asking United States government, it's time to stretch your hand. We know that United States has the ability and the capability to do so. As we sit here and ask United States to stretch the hand of welcome and recognize the sovereignty of Southern Cameroon. In 1961, United States government recognized the people of Southern Cameroon as a sovereign nation. 64 nations stand with the people of Southern Cameroon, and yet till today, it's been 56 years and the people has not realized that dream. And that dream is like a loop. And but United States is aware of this. United States Department of State or Pompeo, the current U.S. Secretary of State, he, as a former CIA director, understands the international community and he understands Southern Cameroon. He understands that they were not a colonial territory. They were a sovereign nation that United States, this great nation, voted recognizing Southern Cameroon. And the people are now in distress call. At least 65,000 citizens are in Nigeria for a single meal a day. Currently, 10,000 are now in the forest. And they are not even aware when they're going to have a single meal. Mother and children are being delivered children in the midst of the forest, who is not even mentally capable of making decisions. One, he cannot even recognize his wife. Secondly, he cannot recognize his children. Thirdly, he's not aware of the reality, and yet he's been honored and respected as the president of a country. And we, the people of Southern Cameroon, doesn't recognize a mentally challenged individual to be head of a government. And that is why, by seeking the self-determination, that we re-evaluate who should be our leader and how she should be our leader. What is his goal? What is his objective? How can we have a balanced system of government when the power are easily separated? There is a check and balancing. But in La Republic, there's no check and balancing. One individual is the supreme power for all the arm of government, and yet they call themselves, they are in democratic country. A democratic country, when the president is been in power for 36 years, that is the democratic government. Please give me a moment. Of Ambazonian. This morning, as I'm speaking, this morning, today, the people have been invaded. They're currently in a state of hiding. Their home has been burned. And the people in Libya, the people in Waben, all these areas are now residing in the forest. They can't even step outside. They are in the forest. They are living by mosquitoes. You understand when the mosquito invade human, it is not accessible. It is not accessible. And so the people are living in the forest. And while they're being attacked in their home, they are being attacked by the mosquitoes. Now there are shield between the invader Republic of Cameroon and the mosquito invader and all type of snakes. So people are now being killed and they're not aware of this situation. So the Southern Cameroon, as we asking the United States to step handshake to the people of Southern Cameroon, because once the people delay and are not extend the handshake, they look for elsewhere, and guess where the handshake is going to fall? To the Putin of Russia. And when the hands extend to the Putin of Russia, United States will be struggling behind, just as they struggle in Syria. You remember when United States give a red line to the people of Syria, to Syrian regime, they did not enforce that red line. By not enforcing the red line, gives an opportunity for Russia to become the ownership. And so United States should be aware of this crisis and understand the magnitude and the will of the people to stand for freedom. And the United States has the ability to unilaterally and say, no, I stand with the people of Southern Cameroon. I will voice my concern that I will vote with the people of Southern Cameroon, and that they have the right to their freedom. As a vote, as the United States vote in 1961, recognizing the sovereignty of Southern Cameroon, this should as well reinforce that decision and recognize that the Southern Cameroon now is an independent nation. The people have the right. They have the right to their freedom. United States can collaborate and work with the system and ensure that a peaceful democratic form of government that will rise in Southern Cameroon. And the people are here in the United States. They are not elsewhere. They have other friends, other brothers and sisters elsewhere in Iran. But the entire, most, if not, the cabinet is here in the United States. And they're speaking as the United States government. And we're speaking here day in, day out. We are let the United States understand the magnitude of this crisis. And that the people of Southern Cameroon is in accordance with the United States form of government. And that we abide by the United States law. And this is the system that we believe that all of us can work together and become a unified entity, and that we don't need to extend our hands to the Russian government for help. So as the worst brutal dictatorship of Syria, he extended his hands because the United States did not reinforce his decision. And the United States has the power to do so irrespective of which nation is involved. And since the United States did not extend that hand of shake to the Syrian people, now we have Russia in place, and now chemicals are being used, and now the atrocity continues. But yet, the United States think they have missed the game. And so the people of Southern Cameroon are standing here and are asking for the United States government. It's time the United States government extend handshake to the people of Southern Cameroon as they stand and in a distress call. They're asking for help. United States government step handshake and see the people in distress call. 65,000 citizens are in a single meal a day. Southern Cameroon is a sufficient and the agricultural land that they can feed the entire West Africa if they concentrate in their farming and agriculture. But they are now become living on a single meal per day. They have no food to feed them children. Women deliver child and bleed to death because they are escaping an invader, the Republic of Cameroon. United States is time to step handshake to the fellow Southern Cameroon. They are in distress call. It's time to step. I understand that the U.S. Secretary of State has just received his duty, and I'm asking Secretary of State, the document is in your front. Nikki Haley is aware the document was presented to her by U.S. Congress, 24 members of the U.S. Congress. Ask Nikki Haley, it's time to step up and support the people of Southern Cameroon. We cannot take this no more. It's time, United States, to extend handshake and extend handshake. The people need freedom. The people doesn't need an evil dictatorship. The people are crying all over. And yet, United States don't remain silent. United States don't remain silent because the people need you. Either you extend the handshake and recognize the people, then otherwise Russia or China is going to take over. And when they take over, it's going to be a chaotic scene. And if the people of the 60s, the 50s recognize the communists was in an extent of expansion, and they knew this, and they prevent the expansion of the communists, I think the United States is aware of this, and the United States is understood the magnitude of the communist system. Are you going to stand with a extend handshake to the Southern Cameroon, or are you going to allow the magnitude of the communists to take over? I can't talk about the EU because the European Union is in disarray. It's not even an organization that one can even reckon upon because they are part of the dirty game. But United States, the government I trust, the government I believe, the government that molded me to become what I am today, and I stand proud of this great nation. I am asking the United States to step handshake and lead the people of Southern Cameroon to emerge freedom because they need it right now and not yesterday. We have an office of the United Nations that is here in the United States and is leading by a disgraced leadership. It's absolutely the corrupted leadership. And yet, they are in our country, the United States. But how are we going to stand and allow and promote corrupted system, No, that is not the liberty I think. That is not the liberty I envisage. That is not the liberty I entrusted. And that is not the government I believe in. As North Korea softened its decisions to recognize that the importance of the United States in the rest of the world and the peace and hegemony of the world to be under a peace coexistence. If the leader of Kim Jong-un of North Korea abandon his military weapon and military hardware and seek for freedom from the United States and say, we are ready, we are ready, we are ready, we are ready. If North Korea is stepping up, say we are ready, and extend handshake to the South Korea and recognize South Korea as a nation, recognize the value and the potential, and that they can work together, and that they can abandon their weapon. I am asking United States, as calm began to subside in North Korea, I ask United States to step its eyes onto Africa, because there is a chronic system going on. There is a murder and genocide. There is ongoing brutality. Homes are being burned down by an old brutal dictatorship. 86 years old. He basically has nothing to offer to the entire global hemisphere of the African descent. And yet we have an evil military wing that I just honor him, respect him. They don't even know whether he understood what he had been said. He doesn't even participate in any meeting. He is somewhere hiding in some shield. And they call him Bob, yeah? And that is the person the international community respect more. They call him, he's the president of the Republic of Cameroon. What a fantastic dignity that they don't aware that they are honor a mentally challenged individual. They call him Pobia. But the people of Southern Cameroon shall not be part of that invigorations. The people of Southern Cameroon is now an independent country. They are free. And we are asking those military that are operating in Southern Cameroon that it is time to pack and leave the Southern Cameroon territory. If you have been appointed by the Republic of Cameroon and you are residing in Southern Cameroon, we are asking you to pack your luggage and get back to the Republic of Cameroon, because the Southern Cameroon is no longer part of the Republic of Cameroon. That era has long gone. But we must tune the radio to reflect the spirit of the Southern Cameroon. Many of you hasn't recognized that we are in the stages of crisis and that we are moving straight forward, and that we are moving straight forward to a new beginning of the Southern Cameroon. But I'm asking all the fellow Southern Cameroon that you have a role to play, and you need to extend your hand and ask, what area should I become part of the movement? It is time to join the vessel, because the vessel is in a high speed. The vessel is in a high sea. The wave is against the vessel, but unfortunately, the vessel is well secure, and the manipulation of the wave of the high sea cannot cause any damage of the vessel, because as the vessel keep on maneuver over the wave of the high sea, the end point is buoyant. That is where the vessel left a long journey all over the different country, all over aspect. The vessel is well loaded. The vessel is full. The package of the vessel is full. It's now maneuvering over the high sea. The wave of the high sea cannot manipulate the wave. And so the end point is buoyant. That's where the destination is. But we have some people that are hiding in the trees, in the forest, and they think they can do anything to prevent the wave that is heading to Boya. But unfortunately, I am here to let La Republic and those perpetrators that are standing with La Republic thinking that that vessel can be tarnished. But unfortunately, that era has surpassed, and now there's not difficulty. Are we ready? Are we ready? Are you Southern Cameroon? Are you born? You know, there are certain children, they were born with a golden spoon. And so they were born in an environment that God, they think they were blessed by God. But because there was an environment that was not comfortable for everyone to thrive. And so certain people were think they will have the superior class. But we are creating a Southern Cameroon that, irrespective of who you are, irrespective of where you come from, the local community, irrespective of where you come from, the rural area, irrespective of where you come from, whatever, you must have the level of playing field will be open to everyone. Every Southern Cameroon, every Ambazonian, all of you, the playing field will be open. Opportunity for all is not be for exceptional for a certain individual class. Education shall be provided for all Southern Cameroon. Industrial investment shall be provided for all Southern Cameroon. The law shall be for all Southern Cameroon. No one shall be above the law. All of us, including the president, to the person that sweeps the toilet, to the person that vacuum any environment, it shall be made, and that all shall be bound by it, and no one shall be above the law. And that the Southern Cameroon is the one that I see. I see a country that is full of glory. But we can do this collectively and morally. I want to take a moment to thank all of you for watching this evening. That we have a duty, but we must come together and function in one unified identity. And the goal will be yours. And we shall be free, and free for once and for all. Thank you.